Hello dear students, this is your Satish Sir. Finally, after lot of students' request, it could be possible today that we are now releasing specific classes for CMA Final SCM in English. Yes, you have heard it right. This could not be possible without our students who had been continuously behind us seeking exclusive guidance for CMA, and I know we have been working hard with our CMA community to give them exclusive classes, exclusive guidance as per CMA course. Friends, as a first step towards this journey, we have released now 5 classes for CMA Final SCM in English version. I've tried my best to maintain the essence and accuracy of the teachings in English as well. However, I shall be always there behind the screen for you to assist you, to guide you, to support you, to ensure that you really get the value out of time you will invest watching these videos. For this purpose, in this video description, I've added one WhatsApp group where you should join while watching these English classes and for any kind of queries that you are facing while studying through these classes. The more the response comes, the more the active participation comes in our WhatsApp groups, the more would be the motivation for us to work ahead for further English version of our all other subjects and this full subject as well. I would be happy to assist you in your CMA journey. I and my team are eagerly waiting for you to start learning from us. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning. So now we are going to start. So what we are doing is relevant costing. Yesterday I had explained to you all the relevant cost of material in detail. I had shown a flow chart and told you to follow the flow chart. Visualize and try to remember the relevant cost of materials. There are 2 situations. One is materials in stock or ordered, other is materials to be purchased. These stocks have 3 cases. Non-moving, which gives you benefit lost, and current purchase price is taken from regular materials. Removal cost saved is taken from toxic waste. The purchase price that is for to be purchased, we consider that price as relevant cost. If there's a lot size restriction for to be purchased, then 2 cases arise. The extra material, whether it's useful or not is the question. If it's not, it will be scrapped. If it is useful, it will be taken over according to current cost. Accordingly, net cost is charged. So here, hope it's clear. Today, we were doing sums on the same thing, right? We were solving and discussing the sums, and I had given you a question to solve for homework. Question 6. Let's do question number 6 now. Oh, sorry. Question 4. We will do question 4. Let's start. Look, there is an offer where they are asking for the relevant cost of material. There are 6 materials A, B, C, D, E and F. Their units and the units in stock are given here. The book value is sunk, so keep that aside. The realizable value and replacement cost per unit are given. So the first question is material A be used regularly? What is nature of the material of these 2? It is regular. So next is how to calculate the relevant cost of regular material. Current purchase price. This one. Then it's written A and B are used regularly if stocks are regularly required for this job. They would need to be replaced to meet other production. You need to immediately make a purchase. Then for material C and D, materials C and D are in stock as a result of the over purchase made. C and D stock is over purchased, meaning it is non-moving. Non-moving. C has no other use. But D could be used in another job as a substitute demand for 350 units of material. If C is not used, then its realizable value becomes the relevant cost. The realizable value becomes relevant, and the benefit lost of non-moving materials is scrap value. The next step is benefit lost is considered as realizable value for 700 units and for remaining 100 units. Make purchase. And for D, it's mentioned that it has another use as substitute demand for 350 units of P. which currently costs 4.5, of which the company has no units in stock at the moment here. What would be the substitute benefit? It will be 350 multiplied by 4.5. What would be the answer? So the answer for this calculation is 1575. Now in benefit lost, the higher option is taken in account. The higher option is always the scrap value. Here we have 6 and 160 units in stock. So what is its scrap value? 960. Should I take 960 or 1575? Take higher value as the answer. The answer is the one that is higher. We will take it. All right. So indeed the higher value will be taken, which is 1575. But this will be for 160 units. The requirement is 200. Rest 40 units we will purchase. Then section E and F is toxic material. Removal cost save is taken in toxic material. If you have 500 in stock and you need only 400, then it will be given from the stock. Then it was purchased for a separate contract, not accepted. This means it is non-moving but is of toxic nature. We treat toxic materials as non-moving. Alright, it should be then disposed of at a cost of 3,500 and 8,000 respectively. Disposed of at a cost of. The disposal cost is given. If the material is used in this contract, this cost will be saved. We save 3,500 rupees, but that 3,500 is the cost of 500 units. And how much is needed? 400, so we need to proportionate it by 500. Multiplied by 400 will be saved. The entire 3,500 will not be saved. Pay attention to the units column and to the column of units required. And in F300, units are in stock and you need 360 units. So the units that are in the stock will help us save a total amount of 8,000, right? But the 60 units that we don't have, how to get them? We will have to purchase it. The purchase price is 60. All right. So all this information given here is for the stock. The relevance of material in stock is calculated like this: A and B are regular users, so can be given at current price. C and D materials are non-moving. So what are C and D? Non-moving. So what do we do with non-moving? C and D are non-moving materials, so we add in benefit lost. But please keep in mind that only the stock can be placed under benefit lost. If we need more stock, we purchase it. If it's toxic, then put in removal cost. We can only provide as much as we have in stock. If you need more, you can purchase. Purchase it, and if you need less, then you can take proportionate savings or use proportionate benefit loss. All right. So this is the idea, and now we should present it. You all can follow along in your book. Solution to question number 4. Page number of the book you can write. I had asked you to write this beforehand. I hope you have done it already and got an answer. The magic in doing it yourself is that till the time you don't write it on your own, you don't understand it properly. If we don't start, we'll doubt our ability to solve it. But when we start to write by thinking and understanding concepts, the problem starts to solve slowly. It can't be completely wrong. You may go wrong at 1 or 2. So every time when I tell you to do something by yourself, you have to do it without fail. Don't take it casually that sir has told to do it. It's okay. He will make us revise in class as well. Don't have such approach. Our approach while studying should always be that if it is said to be done, then it should be done. Particulars. The name of the materials. I can then write nature in a column, or I can write it in bracket here. Then a column in stock. To be purchased. And total. Material A. Nature is regular use. We didn't take anything from in stock that we have. Now we will look at the to be purchased. To be purchased is 1200. Nothing from stock. 1200 in purchases. At the rate 60 is 72,000 in total. B is for regular use. It won't come under in stock. Forget in stock. So this is 1350. The 1350 units needed will be purchased rather than taking from stock. 1350 into 45. 6750. The total is 6750. Now for C. What is its value? Units required. Now R 800 and 700 are in stock. Its nature is non-moving. There are 700 in stock, which will go at scrap rate. 700 into 25. Then what will be the answer for this? 17,500. and we will buy the remaining 100. The remaining 100, we will purchase it at a rate of 40. 100 into 40 is 4,000. The answer that you have in your book is printed by mistake as 1,000. It is printed there mistakenly. We will get that corrected. Later when book arrives, it will be corrected. Alright, please correct the printed answer. Material D is non-moving. If it is non-moving, then from stock, take higher of from 160 units. So to take higher of, write scrap value. What's first? Scrap value. How much is it? 6 rupees each for 160 units, so its value is 960. And second is substitute value. What is the substitute value? 350 units at 4.5 will be 1575. All right. So which one is higher? 1575. Okay. How many units do I need to buy? I have 160 in stock and I need 40 more. The rate is 19 for 40. So 40 multiplied by 19 is 760. Then for 1575 plus 760, the answer will be 2335. Moving to E. How to do that? Toxic materials. E is toxic materials. The toxic materials that are there in stock, its removal cost saved, you have 500 in stock, but you only need 400 from stock. But 3500 is the cost saved from 500. We will find its proportional value. So it's 2800. So here the cost saved is negative. Okay. F is also toxic. But how much stock material is there in F? 300, and we need 360. We saved 8000 from 300. So the savings are 8000 and 60 units are needed extra. Its cost will be 67 rupees each for extra 60 units that are needed. 60 into 67. 4020. We got minus 8000. 3980 negative. After adjusting all of this, we will get the net figure 149805. Normally in exams, when you have to write in a proper way, then in those exams, you will have to explain the logic of everything. Why did this happen? Why is this figure irrelevant and why is the book value irrelevant? You will have to explain. What is the logic behind your answer? You are just writing the answers now. Okay, if there was a proper written exam, then we will have to take notes, note 1, note 2, note 3, note 4. We will have to write the whole story and the logic behind it. Material F. Since this is toxic in nature, so we won't have to dispose the toxic material off. We will thus save a significant amount of 8000 rupees in cost. But we need 60 more units. These 60 units will be purchased at the current market value. A note will be made for each step. And its book value is its sunk cost, so it will be now considered to be irrelevant. Did the institute do something bad or good to you? Tell me. Was it a good or bad decision to remove written exams? From online learning, I feel that exam get finished quick. It's an advantage, but problem is mismanagement. Otherwise, psychologically, it's a huge relief. Now you just have to solve it. No assumptions and notes or long stories are to be written along with it. Everything has its pros and cons, right? There is nothing perfect in this world. There is no perfection in this world. Okay. So now let's move on to new notes. Up to what point number have we written notes earlier? See, you have to make a proper index section. I had already told you. If you haven't created it yet, you can make and complete the index. So the 12th point will go to the index, relevant cost material. Then there are two questions solved. The question number will also go to the index. Okay, so how is the index being created? We are writing topic and its question as well. And page number in the reference. Although you have been told to leave only 10 pages, it is possible that even this may be insufficient. Therefore, let's write this down concisely. If there are 3 or 4 points on a page, write those 3 or 4 points in one line there. In the index, you will remember me, I hope, when you are revising the day before the exam, and you will think to yourself, that sir did such a good job. And create such an index not only in this subject, but in every subject. Whatever strategy I give, try to implement it in every subject. It will help you a lot. So next point, number 13. Write down relevant cost of labor. Relevant cost of labor. So the story of labor is interesting. It's of two types. First is direct labor. And the second is indirect labor. One is direct labor and the other is indirect labor. You must have learnt about direct and indirect in childhood, right? Sir, why do you remind things from childhood? Do you think we remember? If someone asks me what I ate yesterday, I don't even remember about that what I ate yesterday. You are talking about childhood. The point is that whatever you learn in your childhood gets deeply ingrained in your consciousness. It takes time for new knowledge you learn to get absorbed properly. So I am reminding you of your childhood because when you connect current knowledge with it, those cells get activated. And from there, everything will get connected. Direct labor, indirect labor costing students. Have heard so many times that he can tell you even half asleep. But you need to listen again now on it. This time, from my perspective, direct labor is basically a kind of labor cost or worker which is directly applying on product and job, okay, in any job. So students, the person who directly works on it, he is called a direct worker. Like I am teaching you, teaching is my job. What's this job? Teaching job. So who is directly working on this? Me. So you are studying only from me. I am direct labor. Understood? I am doing your work. I am direct labor. But is the institute running just because of my work? No. Because when I am teaching, someone is inquiring, is there any other teacher? They need some support. Someone turns my class on and someone turns off. After my class, someone edits my videos. Right? Some people on. Social media have brought you through posts. Some people have given you information. Some people are doing accounting. A lot of people are working in different places apart from me. All of their ultimate expenses that are going on, that main work that is happening is running on revenue. Revenue comes from the main work. Everyone else is also working. They are like supporting that main work. They are supervising, they are supporting. Okay, maybe they're doing some side work or making sure the main work is not getting disturbed or obstructed. They are protecting. So, who are the other people? You must have understood. Indirect labor. Okay, you have this basic idea. Now think of some more examples. What is the way to read? Think of an example. Think of more scenarios. Think of your own office. If you are in office, they shift articles and provide training. So, the business that they have. The main business, like suppose that you work in a big firm. What is its main business? Audit report, accession, right? Those who are working on the main business, who are those people? Direct labor. But the person who is supporting and supervising side by side, doing management, he's not doing the main work, he's not auditing. He is not filing the tax return. But he is looking at every other work. He is billing. He is sitting at the reception. Who are all of them? Indirect worker. Imagine a tailor's shop. A tailor's shop In the tailor's shop, the main tailor who is cutting and stitching, okay, who is he? Direct labor. And the person who is sweeping and cleaning, okay, or the person who is a security guard standing at the gate, who is he? He's in direct labor. Let's say there is a head. Who is not sieving the cloth or cutting the cloth or even ironing the cloth. He's just standing there and supervising that if the work is being done. Who is he? An indirect worker. Is it clear? There is a basic system in relevant costing to study direct indirect. It's important to understand that system. Those who know the concept are fine, but it is necessary to know this in relevant costing. For us, direct worker are those workers who we keep only when we have some work. Do you all understand? When there is no work, we leave them. We discharge them. Discharge them or terminate them once the work is over. Who's the direct worker for us? You can relate this concept to the normal basics also. But we didn't say that in the intermediate when we were studying what is a direct worker. So we didn't. Used to say what I'm saying now. We used to say that workers who are directly engaged in production of goods are direct workers. But now students, we have to say a new thing. So again, students, when we have work, we keep the workers. And when the work is finished, they are discharged. They are discharged, meaning that they are not fired. We say, go, your work is done, we'll call you when there's more work. Understood? There's a hospital. A very critical patient has been admitted for his surgery. He will call a special doctor. Okay? The doctor came and performed the patient's surgery. Now we will not keep the doctor there. We tell him to leave. Surgery is done. Now nurse can take care of us. So if the doctor wants to visit, he can come again. And when the patient is cured, so he can come then. But he won't be there morning to evening. He'll be there when needed. He'll do another operation and surgery. Do you understand? Who is the doctor? Direct worker. He is coming only when there is work. After finishing. Discharged. Discharge doesn't mean that we push them out. The word discharge doesn't mean pushing out someone. Discharge means leave after finishing the work. Like you are studying CMA finals from me. Right? Course finished. Will you take me home? No, you won't. Right? You won't. So do you understand this? I won't go to your home. Practically, you will also not take me to your home after the class. When work is done, what will you say? You will say you are discharged. Work is done, you are discharged. You will come to study SFM. Then the duty will start. You will come to learn about SPMB, my duty will start. The more subjects you study, the more duties for me. When subject done, duty is finished. Okay, then you all went ahead in your own lives. In future, if you study again from me, my duty will start again. Did you get the logic? Did you? Duty is starting. And then that duty ends like when you call a carpenter to your house. When we have work, we call him, then we tell him to leave, so that is a direct worker. What are indirect workers? If work is there or not. Work is there or not. What do you have to do? You have to keep him on monthly payment. The payment is not based on work. It's monthly payment. We will keep them without any work. If there is no work, we'll give them other work. The work they were hired for is not available. We give them other work. We can give him anything. If he's free, then anything. We tell him to do several things. Go and pay my child's school fees. Go ahead, my son is getting married, arrange his sweets. So you can give him any work. Of course, depending upon the status and profile of the worker, any kind of work can be given, right? Do you get the idea? It's not like when work is done, you can go home. In that, they are kept in an order. And they are terminated only after giving a notice period of 2 months, 3 months, or 1 month. It's not like they are discharged without work. If there is no work, then they are discharged after serving a notice period. And 1 month, 2 months. Notice is given before termination. When there is no work, they try to give them another job or work, or they say just sit idle, there's no problem. Sit. Sit idle. Now you think like this. That if you are working in your office full time, or whatever training that you are doing in office, imagine if you are a direct worker or an indirect worker. Look, according to definition of inter, you are direct. You may be You might be filing returns or auditing. But our meaning is a little different here. I said that if you study according to Inter, you will get confused. If you study according to the basic meaning, then you will not be able to do relevancy in the relevant costing. That if you are given a break as soon as the work is finished and called when work is done, then you're direct. And if they tell you to stay after looking at the watch, if you want a leave, he will give leave with notice. And you will be discharged with 1 month's notice, 2 months' notice. You are indirect. Now imagine, think from the perspective of the office. Are you direct or indirect? You are an indirect worker, right? We thought we were direct workers. But now you think you are indirect. But why? Because there's no work in office, so we won't go to office. Boss will say you have to come even if there is no work. Come to office. There's no work, but you still sit idle. Now, if you are sitting idle, the owner is worried that you are sitting idle. So he'll give you another job. You don't know when or what kind of work he will give you. In fact, he doesn't know either. They will look at you, and as soon as they see you. Students, this is a very interesting thing. The owner of the business, that owner of the business can see everyone. Like, the person who works, after seeing him, he will scan him. That what work has been done, what work remains, and what more work can I give him. The business owner doesn't see the person as a person. He doesn't see someone named Prashant as Prashant. He only sees him like, just by looking at him, whatever his name is. What work has he kept and not given yet? And what work can we give him? That's it. Owner always looks for such a person. He doesn't think that this is a man. He only thinks that what kind of work has he been given that we have not gotten back, or what work can we give him. If you are free, he will think and then give you some work. What kind of work do you do? Indirect work. But we who have come into your life, imagine, are we direct or indirect? We were also direct from the old definition. And we are direct according to concept of relevant costing. Why? Because after my class is over, you cannot keep me here. Okay, my work is finished. Now it's my choice. I will choose whether to sit here or at home or at office. It's my choice. You cannot force me. Correct? We have a contract that the work we are connected for is when finished. We will stay together till then. After that, we will be on our ways. Then we both have a choice to stay together or not. Okay? There is no foundation. In this way, when it comes to indirect labor, there is foundation. You can't say that it's according to your choice. Did you understand? What will you write for direct labor? The workers that are discharged. The workers that are discharged after the work is complete. So the workers that are discharged after the work is complete. Okay. What will you write for indirect? The workers that are not discharged and terminated after the work is complete. After the work is completed, we won't give you leave. As long as you are kept. For that long, as long as you are kept. For that long, you will have to stay with us. Okay? Now you have understood two types of workers. What is the case now? There are two cases. Indirect, you have to think that we have received an offer. And students, in that offer, we have to help. And to help with that offer, the direct worker has some work. So we need to bring direct worker. Let's suppose you are a contractor doing construction. You are a contractor. You do some construction. Your regular customer is great. You are making good money. Now I am your teacher and I have come to you and told you that I have some repairing work in my house. You do such large constructions. Get some repairing done in my house. You say, how can I refuse you, sir? I'll get it done for you. Or wait, sir. I will send a manager to your house. or I will come myself to see what the work is. So the person that you send to see what the work is to be done, is he a direct worker or an indirect worker? Whoever you send to my house to inspect what the work is and how much repairing is needed, will direct or the indirect worker go? Indirect worker. Right now we are looking for the relevancy of direct, not indirect. So you came, or your manager came, he saw and left, and reported to you that this is the work there, and told you send 2 people at sir's house and the work will be done in a week. The manager that came to check at my house told you send 2 people and work will be done in a week. Okay. So now the 2 men who you will send to my house to do the repairing, the masons, right? When you will send those masons at my house, you will have to bring them from somewhere. You have to send masons. We keep mason. When we have work, remember that if there is no work, we discharge them. Okay? Because students, even if you are a contractor, why would you give a mason an office-like space? Am I right? It's okay if you give the manager a chamber and a table in the office. But the mason doesn't get table, chair. If you are a contractor, if there are 100 masons working on a site, will you put a table and chair for all 100 of them in office? No, right? So what would you do? You would find the masons through your network and then you will send them to me at my house. 2 cases are here. Person is easily available. Either the person is easily available, we will write here abundant supply. What does abundant supply mean? We will find people as many as we need, or you can say, or casual hiring. So basically casual hiring means that you will get as much people needed. Casual. So casual means that you don't have to do fixed hirings. Casual worker is a concept. Casual workers mean they are called when they are needed. When work is done, they leave. Okay, abundant supply. Or casual hiring. If this is the case, so it's very easy. You just have to go to the market and you have to ask for 2 masons. We have some work. There is a market of masons where you can meet them, or they are also part of some network. From there, you can bring 2 masons. Understood? Pay attention. Everyone? Okay. Do you understand? Tell me. Pay attention here. Okay. It's really important to pay attention in class. When you get distracted, you have to tell your mind that you are studying now. When you are doing something important and then a child enters the house. So, when we are doing some important work and someone disturbs us while doing it, what will we say? Don't come here. I am doing an important task, don't disturb. We'll say it, right? We need to tell our thoughts the same thing. Thoughts are a kind of child. We will explain it another time. You will enjoy thinking about it. That is childish, always there with you. If you do something important, it will come. Listen, what did you eat for breakfast? Then as soon as you start doing something important, it comes back. Listen, will you watch this movie? And it brings such an attractive thing that your mind will definitely go away and won't be able to focus. If physically you are at a place, something is happening in front of you, but that childish thought in your mind comes up with something like attractive, which is distracting you from doing your work. What do? You have to tell him, don't come here. I am doing some important work. Okay. You will have to pay more attention. Right now, implantation is happening in your mind. Suppose you are sitting in an operating theater. So what does the doctor say? Don't move your mouth. Don't move your body. And now for you, it's don't move your focus. What happens if you don't focus? You will be distracted. Pay attention or mistakes will happen, like nurse injecting in a wrong vein. You are learning. If your mind gets lost or if you get distracted, it won't happen. So what am I trying to say? Hire 2 masons comfortably. Okay. Casual hiring is, you would hire those 2 masons. And once work is done, you will fire them. Hire and fire. Fire doesn't mean pushing someone out. It's a discharge. Finish the work, take money and leave. Now you ask, sir, what about the mason? Why would you care? What will happen to that mason? What is it to you? You'll just get my work done from him. What will be charged from your pocket? The mason's labor charge will be spent from your pocket. Okay. So at that time, what was the relevant cost? At that time, the relevant cost is nothing but, it is known as the simple cost that needs to be incurred, which is nothing but the labor cost of the offer. That is whatever the labor cost for the offer. That's it. Labor cost of the offer is the amount that needs to be paid to the mason. You will ask me for that money, right? You'll now say, sir, why would we ask you? Look, don't get emotional. Don't think anything like that. We all are doing a service, not charity. What is the difference between them? Service means take the cost. Charity is doing for free in services. Don't think of money. Do the service, don't earn money. But at least take the cost that is spent from your pocket. Okay? Now, what could be the second case? The other case to consider is, what if the masons are not available in the market? There is no supply, or you could say there is a shortage. There's short supply, not in market. So your man would be, as we would say, is unavailable in the market. So I tell you that, have you become such a busy man to not even get some of my work done while continuing to run your own site? So you say, sir, I am working on my site, and that's why I am unable to get people for your work. So I am also saying the same thing, that can't you send 2 people out of all these people working in your site? You then say, I can't send you 2 men, sir. I earn income from the site, and each of my mason help me generate this income. That is why I make them do the work. So if I send my workers to your site, then how will I generate my income? Will the mason charge for labor? Will he do my work or the site's work? He will charge for services wherever he works. Plus, along with that, when he was working on your site, that's your business, and you earn your income from that. And now that income, as the mason left your work and came here, that will be lost. The work of the mason at the site will be delayed, or your daily income from the site from 2 masons will be lost that day because they are working at my place. In such a case, what will be the relevant cost? We will call it relevant cost at that time. The mason will definitely take his charge. It can't be avoided. He will either work at your site or at mine. Plus the work he left on the site. Let's say you were getting your daily income from the site. Now, if 2 masons don't go to work there, then their income for 2 days will be lost. As they're working at my place, you send them to my place. As a result, the loss of income that has been occurred, you are allowed to charge me for the same loss. Contribution lost. Where does the loss come from? From other regular work. Where those workers were working. Loss of contribution comes from other regular work where those masons were busy working. Loss of contribution from other regular work. I hope it is clear. Let's say you have a worker who is working on one job and you transfer them to another job. When a contractor hires people to work daily, the site owner is required to pay them. Today you're 2 man. You send them here at my place, so their income is gone, right? So what will you ask from me? The mason's charge, right, because he is going to charge for both the work. Plus contribution lost. Is it clear? Now, when it comes to indirect labor, that means the manager who went for inspection. Okay? For inspection, you need to keep this point in mind, that the managers, we cannot discharge those people. So they have a fixed salary. And you have to give them that fixed salary regardless. You can't avoid it. So their salary is committed. So if he hadn't come, you wouldn't have paid him the salary. You would have. He's a fixed person and he needs to be in the office. His salary is committed. So when you first told your manager to go to the sir's house and see what work needs to be done, so when the manager leaves, there can be 2 scenarios. Manager was free, was sitting idle. You have to pay people sitting idle in the office like managers. So he went to check during idle time. What cost you incurred? What's your cost? Nothing. Did you give him extra salary? Let's say you thought he went to my place. Therefore, he will receive a separate salary. Would you give the manager a separate salary? No. So what was your cost? Nothing at all. Why? Because he would have received his monthly salary anyway. And what about taxi fare incurred for the journey? Let's say it was your company's motorcycle and the petrol is filled in it and he goes on it only. You didn't give anything separately for that. Let's assume nothing is given separately. Okay? So its relevant cost is nil. The manager went to inspect. Yes, now let's say for inspection, you are sitting in Delhi and I am sitting in Kolkata. The man who came from Delhi to do inspection incurred train fare. The extra money spent on it, site travel cost. It has to be paid to the manager. You can charge me for it, but the salary component. The salary component, you cannot ask me for it. And so why is that? Because the manager is your idle man. So here again, there are two cases. Either the manager was idle. Okay, he was idle meaning he sat idle. So what would be the relevant cost of site inspection around that time? What will be the relevant cost at that time? It will be nil. Why? Salary is already committed. Committed cost is irrelevant. Okay. And possibly the manager that you were going to send before, he could be extremely busy at some site of yours. The manager is busy at some site. Now, if you are telling him, go see what Satish Sir has to say about something, so he will leave the site's work. If he leaves the site's work, we are going to assume that no individual piece of work would be done on the site. Don't think that the site is working by itself while he still went out. In real world, it might happen that the manager instructs some work on the site and then looks after my issue while supervising the site. We are assuming that as soon as the manager from the normal site, he leaves and goes to work at my place. So the normal site's work will be paused till the time he's here at my place, right? I mean, we can assume this. So the second case is, what is the manager doing? He is busy. Busy here in other regular work. Busy in regular work. If the manager is busy and still he arrives leaving his regular work to inspect at my place. Okay, so let's assume that the regular work will stop. We are to assume that the regular work has been paused. If his regular work gets paused, his earnings will also get paused. So will the manager need to be paid separately? No. In the second case, there is no mention of a separate salary. So what happened? The earning. It was stopped. So what would you say? Relevant cost is contribution lost. Relevant cost is what? Contribution lost. No cost incurred. Even in short supply, write this word down, busy. It was left out. Idle means not busy or free. Idle means not busy. Write busy here too. Let's now again recall what I have explained. I have mentioned that workers are of two types. Direct, indirect. You need to recall the whole story. That if, when talking about a mason, it's direct. If it's a manager, it's indirect. You can write them as examples. This is mason. This is manager. Okay. The direct worker is mason and manager is the indirect worker. If my work, say, requires a mason and he is brought from the market, then cost will be incurred. If the mason is being transferred from the site, then cost incurred and contribution lost. And if the manager was sitting idle, if he was just sitting idle, if a manager was sitting idle, and if he went to the site, so there is no relevant cost. Or if he left the main work and went to the site, the cost to be incurred is nil. We'll only take contribution lost. Okay. For an indirect worker. For indirect workers, their salary that is going to be okay. It is possible that salary could be given to you on cost per hour basis in the question. However, their cost is not per hour. The salary can be given in the question on a monthly basis. That is okay. Or cost per hour basis. They may also mention cost per hour, say indirect wages, 10 rupees per hour, like this. Therefore, salary can be given in question on a monthly basis or on a cost per hour basis as well. In any case, the salary, okay? This is a committed cost. You see, in the question, they intentionally give the information on per hour basis. But don't be tempted by it. In any case, the salary is going to be a committed cost and hence irrelevant. In any case, the salary is It is a committed cost and therefore is considered to be irrelevant. In any case, the salary therefore is going to be a committed cost, okay? And hence is irrelevant. The salary can be given in question on a monthly basis or a cost per hour basis. In any case, salary is a committed cost and hence is irrelevant. Keep in mind. And now direct workers. For direct workers, everyone write the first bullet point in this, that is, they can be any of three different grades of workers. There are different grades of workers, for example, skilled workers, or we can say highly skilled. Right, skilled. Yeah, or you can say semi-skilled. And the third one is unskilled. It could be any of these grades. Don't assume if it's highly unskilled, it would be indirect. Don't think like that. Direct labor itself can have 3 grades. It's in question. The rule is the same for all these grades. In all these grades, the rule is entirely same. The rule of relevancy remains the same despite the question. Okay? The rule of relevance is the same. What happens is we get nervous when we see highly skilled people thinking he must be a manager. But I didn't say highly skilled means manager. Are we not highly skilled? We're highly skilled. So are we your managers? Are we indirect? No. Therefore, even if the direct worker is highly skilled, but this doesn't mean he will become indirect labor. Okay. Now, direct wages, they can be given on the basis of rate per hour, or it can also be the rate per day or the rate per week as well. Now, sometimes in an exceptional case, the rate can also be per month. Normally, they don't have a monthly rate. If, let's say, someone is paid on monthly basis, now does that automatically mean they are a manager? Come on. Why entertain this delusion? If they are paid monthly, they have become managers. Who said that? Okay. The rate can be given in any way. In any case, they are direct only. In any case, the cost incurred for them is relevant. Okay. Is relevant. No matter how it's given, no matter how the rate is given, don't judge it based on that. The criteria for judgment is right above. We need to make a judgment from this chart. Seeing the rate, you shouldn't get confused. Okay? In any of the case, the cost incurred for them is considered to be relevant. Next, there will be another point. This point's name is very interesting. Now take a peek behind the curtain. I repeat, look behind the curtain and peek. We all enjoy peeking a lot. We don't like things hidden from us at all. Am I right? And now we will take a peek behind the curtain. It's interesting. What does it mean to look behind the curtain? Look at the substance, not the form. Look at the substance, not the form. We learn substance over form in accounts. So even here, look at the substance, not the form. What does this mean? For example, in many companies, what happens is, they know that now let's say we will continue with your example that you are a contractor and do construction. And as we hire the masons, again and again from different markets and make them work, it doesn't yield the output. Not every worker understands your language. We sometimes hire incompetents. Then loss occurs because the output is not as expected. What should you do? You should fix a certain set of your own masons and hire them. They're masons, but don't think mason means direct labor. The nature of employment, what's been set up with him is like, see, we are always working on a site and it is Possible there won't be work for 2 to 4 days in a month, but don't you worry. Every month we will continue to make your payments, but you only work here. And don't go to any other contractors. We will keep making your payments. This means we have changed their nature of employment, that is, their terms of employment. We said, oh, you are a mason, that is, by form you are a mason, but we will give you the payment like a manager. Means even if there's no work, we still pay them. Let's say the work that the mason had on that site is now finished, and based on this, he should be granted leave. You should discharge him and terminate his contract because the work is over. But you have not terminated. You have asked them that go wait outside my office or sit somewhere else if you want, or you are even allowed to stay at your own place. But do come if I call you. It should not be the case that he picked up my work and went somewhere else. So this doesn't mean that he goes somewhere else while looking in search for a new job. Okay, you have to stop him. So we changed his nature of employment. That is, we have changed the terms. So even though he is a direct worker by name now, but he is indirect by the nature of his work. This is very common in questions. You have to look behind the text and need to read the question. That if there's any proper line mentioning about terms of employment. So if in terms of employment it is written somewhere that the company has a policy, let's say of not to discharge, or you can say not to terminate the company's direct workers, that the company has entered into a contract with its direct workers that their employment will not be terminated after the work is over. In that case, even though the name is direct worker, the relevancy would be that of an indirect worker. So the cost to be incurred will be considered as committed cost and hence will be considered as nil. It's a surprise element, keep in mind. So write here that if the direct workers, so the direct workers are not discharged or terminated after the work is over. If the direct workers are not discharged or they are not terminated after the work is over, their employment is then assumed to be indirect in nature. Their employment is then assumed to be indirect in nature. Okay? Hence, the relevant cost, this should be determined as if they are indirect workers. That is, their labor cost would be assumed to be committed in nature. Hence, their labor cost would be assumed to be committed in nature. The labor cost would be assumed to be committed in nature. Is it clear to each and everyone? Okay. Direct workers are not discharged or terminated after work. This is usually hidden in question. So it is written in question that direct workers for the offer required is this and so on. But you can't give direct workers a holiday. I repeat myself again, you can't give them a holiday. If you can't give them a holiday, then they become indirect. Is it okay? Okay. So on this, I am not going to solve any questions. It would be in the exam question, so keep the framework in your mind. I am not going to solve any right now. And let's move on. Point number. Next, go to 14. Relevant cost of overheads. Relevant cost of overheads. We will now study relevant cost of overheads. Okay? It has two parts. One is variable overhead. Second one is fixed overhead. Variable overhead has two parts. Okay, variable overhead has two parts. One part is past, incurred in the past, or you can also say that it has already been incurred before. Listen carefully, any variable overhead that has already been incurred is sunk cost. If it is sunk, then it is irrelevant. If it's sunk, then it has become irrelevant. If it is a future cost, if it's the future's cost, so what do I mean by future cost? One that is going to incur, to be incurred. So this is relevant cost, fully relevant. Okay? Reading the question makes it clear. You understand past and future tense by reading. For example, question says a product is made and its variable overhead is 20 rupees. The product is already made, its variable overhead is 20 rupees. It's in the past. Let's say we are thinking of making a new product and its variable overhead is 10 rupees. We are thinking about it. It's not made yet. That's fully relevant. So we need to focus on if the tense is past or future. Fixed overhead has two parts. Write it down if there's no space above. One is committed. The one that cannot be avoided because we cannot escape from it. So we can say committed or unavoidable. It's committed and unavoidable. Okay? When there's such a case, committed and unavoidable. So what would you say? It's irrelevant at that time. Entire amount is irrelevant. And if opposite is discretionary or avoidable, discretionary or avoidable, so we would say therefore it is relevant. Therefore it's relevant. It's entirely relevant. So there is nothing complicated. It is very simple and we have already understood it in the basics. But what happens here is, in the question, the problem is that you have to understand the language a little bit so as to make a decision. Like, for example, for variable overhead, think of a scenario that in case of variable overhead, the question simply states that variable overhead is 20% of the labor cost. It's an example. What does this mean? It means 20% of labor cost. But it's not written that if it's incurred or to be incurred. Therefore, we need to understand what is the status of labor cost, that if it's incurred or if it is going to be incurred. So focus on labor cost tense when it depends on labor cost. Okay? Now there is one more interesting part, that 20% of labor cost is mentioned. Let's say that the nature of labor cost turns out to be fully committed. When we look behind the text, it was found that their employment is not being terminated. And if the employment is not terminated, then all the cost to be incurred became committed in nature. Therefore, all of it becomes irrelevant. So the relevancy for labor cost is 0. How much is variable overhead? 20% of labor cost. Accordingly, will this also be 0? If labor cost is 0, will this be 0 as well? No. So when we say that variable overhead is 20% of the labor cost, then it actually means that variable overhead is exactly 20% of actual labor cost and not relevant labor cost. Not relevant labor cost. So variable overhead is 20% of. What will you say? Actual labor cost and not of relevant labor cost. Everyone clear? Okay. I hope it's clear. So in terms of relevance, the labor cost should not matter. If it says variable overhead is 20% of labor cost, then we need to consider actual labor cost. Okay. If nothing is mentioned, we assume that variable overhead is entirely relevant. Don't think it's irrelevant on your own. The other thing about fixed overhead is, for example, fixed overhead is given rupees 10 per hour, or let's say is given to be 50% of labor cost. Keep in mind about fixed overhead that whenever it's given in percentage form, so don't think it will be charged on actual labor cost. Whenever fixed overhead is given like this in question, it means it's a committed fixed cost and we ignore it. What about variable overhead? If the question remaining silent QRS, consider variable overhead to be fully relevant. If nothing is said, it is relevant, but calculate its amount on actual labor cost, not on relevant labor cost. But when we come to fixed overhead, and if the question is giving a rate, don't calculate its amount. So any fixed overhead given on the basis of, I repeat, if given on the basis of rate per hour, you can write it like this in short form, given as a rate per hour, or percent of any amount, whether it's given on labor cost or work cost or prime cost. It doesn't matter on what it is given. If it's given in percentage, is assumed to be committed in nature. We will assume it's a committed cost only. A rate has been fixed to charge for it. Charging concept is not applicable in relevant costs. It's assumed to be committed in nature. Therefore, if any fixed overhead is given in question as a rate per hour or as a percentage of any cost, any amount, it's assumed to be committed in nature. So what would you say? Fully irrelevant, ignore the whole amount. We are required to ignore the entire amount. We need to consider variable overhead cost. But fixed overhead needs to be ignored. These concepts are not written in any study mat that is material. This is something a student cannot understand on his own until he attends these kind of classes. Taking classes gives you all a slight leverage effect. If in any question fixed overhead is given on the basis of rate per hour or on the basis of percentage, you are to assume it's committed. Why believe so? We have to believe it's committed. Because whatever the committed fixed cost is, how are you going to charge it to the customer? Have you guys studied about absorption costing in overheads while preparing for Inter? We calculate overhead rate per hour, right? We also calculate overhead as a percent of labor cost. It's calculated only for those overheads which are fixed as well as committed. So just understand. Try back tracing. Understand this by tracing the logic back. So during Inter, we learned about overhead rate per hour. What do we do using that rate? Overhead cost is charged in the product cost calculation. While charging overhead cost, so which overhead is it exactly? We all know it is fixed overhead. And what was its nature? It was committed cost and we know it would have been incurred regardless. What does committed mean? If offer didn't come, would the cost disappear? No, it wouldn't. Committed cost means, remember the logic from Inter. So when we used to calculate overhead rate per hour, what items it used to include? Recall what items are included in overhead. We did primary distribution, right? So what all it includes? Overhead items include rent, electricity, lighting, and supervision. Now let's think about it using common sense. If you are a contractor and if I visit you asking you to get 2 days of my repair work done requiring 2 masons. So your firm's rent, electricity, cost of lighting, supervision would have incurred or not? Like if I hadn't come, it would have been incurred or not? It would have. Don't think extra cost would incurred because of my arrival. You won't incur extra cost due to my arrival, so it's a committed cost. Now what happens? As a cost accountant, you calculate the rate per hour of all these costs, right? And you follow absorption costing for all of these committed costs and calculate the overhead rate per hour. We studied about overhead rate per hour during Inter, right? So why do you calculate overhead per hour? If a customer arrives, you have to do his costing. So you add material, add labor, and then based on the overhead rate per hour, add the overhead. That's traditional costing method where you add all cost. Traditional costing is what we call absorption costing, and it says that all the cost incurred in a business should be added together. Material has to be added, labor has to be added, overhead has to be added. Absorption costing is traditional costing. Traditional costing is the one you are learning since the beginning, which is always going on. Relevant costing is a new science. I told you at the very beginning that you all would be confused. Why? Because we're talking about the complete opposite of what you've been learning. You will think, how did that happen? You cannot understand it this way. You have to keep repeating this over and over in your mind and practice it to see if my point is getting across to you or not. You should not delete absorption costing from your mind. Along with absorption costing, its opposite is relevant costing. Both should be considered. Absorption costing is an old method where any customer who comes in, you start using him as a bait, charging him with all the costs including material, labor along with overheads as well. Show him all expenses and his total cost. Add the profit to it and charge him the cost. Relevant costing is not following this method. Relevant costing says, what extra cost did you incur because of customer's arrival? What cost did you incur? He thinks this way, because we have to do service. Relevant cost is different. It says nothing extra was charged due to customer's arrival. If nothing got spent, why to consider that cost in costing? Ignore it. Okay? Now we will clearly write this and give the question to you guys that this cost will not be charged extra if you get this offer, and you'll be able to understand it. But what did I say about the question yesterday? I told during exam our mind is occupied with thoughts and we start pondering over them. Okay? And now we are like this customer who goes to a mall for the very first time and is confused with what he wants to buy. He tries explaining through his hands using gestures that he wants a tie as he doesn't know how to say it. So you need to solve what is asked. The question is tricky. It is indicating indirectly through hints. It's testing if your brain can think that far or not. So the question is not saying that whatever the fixed overhead is, it would be the fixed or final cost and that there won't be any extra charges, but it's saying there is a company and it has received an offer from someone to do his work. And so the rate of fixed overhead in it is rupees 20 per hour. Now, don't understand the language of the question. Then what will happen? You'll add it because it's 20 rupees per hour. Since you're a cost accountant, you'll keep adding expenses as you know everything, right? The cost accountant has added all the costs that are visible in front. Our costing science is this only. Students, that's not how it is. Relevant costing means you will only add the cost, which will be added when running. When it's written fixed overhead 20 rupees per hour, it's blank. So what should we assume? We then do the calculation with logic. We will put in logic. When we talk about 20 rupees overhead, we all know it because we studied it in Inter before, right? So now students, what were the items that were present in the overhead? So all of those items were like, if it comes along, then it doesn't affect things like rent, electricity or supervision, more such utilities. Do you remember? So will all this increase with a new task coming in? No, it won't. What does it mean when a rate is given per hour? What is written here? Can you see? Given the rate per hour and the percentage of any amount is assumed to be committed. If nothing's mentioned here, I'll assume it's committed. And if he is saying in the question that no, it will be new. The question says it will be new. So extra manpower will come and extra machines will be installed. Now, tell me what will be new. I will buy it. Only buy a new one if mentioned, otherwise don't. What did I say about variable overhead? Take whatever is given, fully relevant. But for fixed overhead, I said, if nothing is said, it's committed. There are keywords. These are the keywords that are given in the question to identify. Committed fixed overheads. Committed fixed overheads. That word committed almost gets the trouble over, right students? But again students, the biggest hassle is that it doesn't reveals that it is committed. It says understand my language. Okay? This is how the world works, like in the exams. The institute, the paper setter says understand my language. Corporate employers want you to understand their language. Sometimes they say things that you don't understand, but to them, it's completely obvious and even makes sense. There is a term for this. This is called teething problem. Slowly, but you do settle. You understand what I'm saying, but the new student in the class takes their time to learn, right? You experience this too, right? Okay. So everyone has their own system, a language. Okay. This happens after the wedding also. The person that you will get married to, their language is different, and so is yours. The language of your families are different. Okay, for example, suppose someone comes to our house and asks, should I bring milk for you? So we respond in an expression like a sign language. So I didn't got the milk. Pay attention. So after a while, I asked about the milk. Then they said I never asked them. They didn't understood my expression. When I asked them that what did they understand, they said that they took that expression for a no. And then I said no, that was a yes. They said I should have mentioned it. So initially, when a teething problem occurs, we might not understand the concept of the other person. But what happens later? We get used to the sign language. So when someone asks something, we nod or do a gesture, which means yes. Understood? Interesting, right? So you have to understand the question this way. You can study concepts like this, but the question does not come in the same language. The question has its own world. It is definitely hiding something. Let's see what we can understand. Okay, it's conveying things differently. It's not saying committed, but rate per hour. It gave some keywords too, like with fixed overhead. A word is added. The word added is put with fixed overheads. Now, fixed overheads added. Now you're curious. Added means you are going to add something. Added means committed. And how will we know? We are telling you. We have had a lot of experience with this, and that's why we're here to help make your work easier. Added. Charged. Recovered. Multiple. Is it allocated? Apportioned. Write quickly. Apportioned. Applied. Allocated. Absorbed. Recouped. Wherever you see these words, understand that this fixed overhead is committed. And nothing was written, just written fixed overheads 2000 rupees. Then what does your soul say? So what would you do then? Committed. Fixed overhead means committed. If it is discretionary, then run it first. Okay. Or just the fixed overhead amount is given. And just the fixed overhead amount is given. Again, then it's assumed to be committed. Say it. 15. We'll revise this, okay? Let's go over it once. This is the last point, 15. This is the last point of your notes. Okay, after this, there are some relevant cost of the use of the machine and depreciation. Relevant cost of the use of machine or depreciation noted. All right. Now what will happen here? Understand carefully. We have a machine. Let's understand it from the construction of this machine's angle. It will be easier. There is a machine which is used for construction. It's called a concrete mixer. Ever saw this machine? You see, when you are walking on the road, this may look like a vehicle, but it's actually a machine. In construction cases, all machines require a lot of effort. Why? Because if the work is done on different sites, then the machine will not be used. It's designed to have car module for moving between locations. But it's a machine, not a car. Are we clear? Moving machine. So this machine is yours. Alright, so now let's say I have a small site. Okay. On that, suppose I have a land lying unused, and on that land I want to build something. Make a small outhouse type. It will be only on the ground floor, not even on the first floor. I want a simple outhouse. It won't be too long. Construction will be done in a month. So for that work, such a machine is needed. Okay. So there are two ways. Okay, one way is that you will send a machine. You will send your machine, okay? The second alternative is that you will rent it out. Many people rent machines. As you've likely seen, contractors working on a site often bring in a large JCB crane, a powerful piece of machinery or other equipments, right? It's not necessary that it has to be his. They can rent it also. Okay? One way is you will rent it out. And I'll have to pay till the construction gets over. At that time, it will be a discretionary fixed cost. Avoidable fixed costs, as rent for machine hiring charges, are discretionary fixed costs. It's not in this category. The cost didn't fall in the heading we made. We have discussed discretionary fixed costs above. It is fully relevant. We are talking about the use of the machine and depreciation. When do we use depreciation? When you have your own thing. You are willing to use your own thing even with a small offer, as it represents a valuable opportunity. If it's your own machine, there will be depreciation. Depreciation is not incurred for a rented machine. Paying rent will be a discretionary fixed cost. Understood? So students, we are saying that the higher charges of the machine is equal to have a discretionary fixed cost. So that's fully relevant. Then why in that case is there a need to be bothered about it? We don't need to talk about it. We'll only talk about it when you have the machine and you send it to me. When you own this machine, are we clear? Okay. And the machine belongs to an ownership, then look at the scenario. We are talking about when the machine is owned by someone, how the situation works. Now pay attention. Now understand, there can be two cases as the machine which is required for the offer is. Now, one case could be that you already have the machine, okay? In possession. Okay. The second case could be you don't have it. If not, buy one. To be purchased. In possession or to be purchased. And now, if you already have it, then why do you have it? Okay. Why would you have this machine? There are two cases. The first case could be, okay, first case could be that it is in possession, but idle means lying idle. It's not working. It is lying idle means no use. Non-moving types are done. No use. If the machine is idle, then what will you do with it? I mean, there is a machine, but why is this machine idle? I had told you there should not be any motion. Okay, like we have an AC here, look. The second one above. Umesh, the AC wire is open, check it. In position. Is it in use? Tell me. It's idle. So students, according to the rule, what should be done with idle things? Why are they kept? What did I teach you? Why keep it? Remove it from here. Understood? You should just get rid of it, okay? Why to have an extra thing? But what do we do instead? Emotional man. The goods are kept in stock. But relevant costing is not about emotions. What relevant costing will say? What should be done? It should be sold. Should we sell the machine? Yes, it's a scrap, so sell the machine, okay? So right now we are going to scrap it. Let's say without an offer, but we would scrap it. We would get some money for it. Am I right? If we get 2000 rupees for that machine. So now you came. Now you are requesting to purchase this machine. Suppose you have this machine. Now, let's say I have a special offer for my work, a great deal that you don't want to miss. Try to understand this, okay? There is a special offer, a solid deal where this machine will be used. A special offer came in which this machine is supposed to be used. And so suppose if I use this machine in a special offer, then can I scrap it? I was going to scrap it since it was idle. So what would I do with the offer? I was about to scrap. But the machine is running fine. It's not broken. The machine was working. It was being scrapped, or you could say resold. Scrap word and resell word are the same. If the machine is idle, what do? We always resell it. Okay. Not like keeping it as it might be useful later. Suppose it's not useful. So what to do? Resell it, right? Now, just imagine a customer comes who needs the machine for his work. Okay. So will you be able to scrap it? No. Should you purchase a new machine? The cost to be incurred is nil. Can you scrap it? No, you can't. So the benefit loss is equal to scrap value. Okay. But this whole thing seems like a non-moving material to you when you listen to it carefully, right? This was done in the non-moving material. Why was the cost to be incurred nil? Because the material was already in stock. Non-moving stock represents a sunk cost. How are we dealing with the non-moving material? What were you going to do? Scrap it. If we were to scrap it, its lost benefit would be relevant. I repeat, we were going to scrap it, so the benefit loss became relevant, remember? But in the case of machines, there is a unique thing that, for example, let's assume I have some idle material with me, non-moving material, okay? I give you the material for your work. So now, once that material came to you, so it's yours now. It will be consumed. The material is gone. So I will charge my benefit lost from you. Basically, the scrap value will be charged by me, okay? But what's the case with a machine? I have a machine, it is vacant. I was scrapping it, I was reselling it. I can't, I have another contract. Suppose the machine isn't consumed in your work, try to understand. Material is consumed, it gets finished, okay? But the machine will not be consumed. The machine will come back after your work is done. Once the material's gone, it's gone. The material will get consumed. Let's say I had some bricks lying over there. The bricks were lying idle, they were not being used. If they were used on your site, then after the construction, you wouldn't take them back, right? So it is used, consumed. So you will be charged for the benefit lost. But in the case of the machine, I sent it to your site. So the machine won't be consumed at the site. It will be used. Consumed and used are two different things. So when the machine is taken to the site after some time, it will come back. What will happen afterwards, that machine? What is going to happen? It will come back, and if it comes back, then let us assume that even after coming back, it will remain idle. Even after coming back, it will just remain idle. So what will you do by keeping it with you in the future? So when it comes back, you scrap it that day. Clear? Suppose the scrap value was to be given as 2000. It went to your site for work to be done in offer, and it came back after 2 months. But if it comes back, what will we do with it? We'll call the scrap dealer and ask how much he'll give for it, right? He said, I'll give 1500. What is my loss? Earlier I was getting 2000. It is on your side. But after the construction is done. But the machine came back, it came back after the work was finished. So if you scrap it, how much money will you get? 1500. What was the earlier amount? 2000. And what's the current amount? So the loss amount is 500. So now if a vacant machine is sent to the site, then the benefit loss has to be charged. But the interesting thing is that it comes back from that site. So the benefit lost is not the scrap value entirely. Benefit lost is what? It's a scrap value at the beginning of the offer, alright, minus the scrap value at the end of the offer. The difference in scrap value is relevant now. Understood? So, okay, so can you tell me the relevant cost of the machine? So what will be the relevant cost? Scrap value at beginning of offer minus scrap value. Okay, you understood? At end of offer. It is equal to the difference in scrap value. Just keep this shortcut in mind. It is equal to the difference in the scrap value. Means it's just like the benefit lost. I've written in bracket, we should think it like benefits lost. But the concept is referring to difference in scrap value. Now what happens in the non-moving materials? For these materials, we just take scrap value. I'm telling you beforehand, you won't find it in any book. This analysis has been given to you after careful consideration. Why do we only consider scrap value for material? Why it's difference in scrap value here, while there I'm taking scrap value? What happens to material? It gets consumed and doesn't come back. So scrap value is same as at the beginning. In case of machine, it will come back. You'll get back some scrap value. Now the scrap value which we couldn't get is the difference between scrap value. Okay. So if an idle machine goes to the working site, it will be like this. And the second case could be is that you don't have an extra machine with you. It is not idle. What is that machine? It is used regularly. This machine that we have is already in regular use. So the machine that you are having with you, it is already being used on a regular basis. Did you get the point? So the machine that you have is what? It is being used regularly. At that time, from where will you send the machine to me? You are saying you will buy one and send. Really? We are not talking about cycle. Is this some kind of joke that we will buy a new one? It's not like buying vegetables. This is different. Its purchasing cost is huge. We can't just buy. How will my work be done at site? Now, you will say, sir, please wait, the machine is not available. So I will try emotional tricks upon you. Can't you do this for your sir? I'm asking for machine just to build myself an outhouse. The machine are working on such a big contracts. Can't you send machine for few days? Okay, I surely will send it. What will happen as the machine is brought here from there? Work will stuck. The machine will generate a daily income for me at that place. What will happen if I bring the machine here from there? The income will be lost. Yes or no? This will be a loss. If the machine is of the regular use, then how are we supposed to just give it away? What should I do now? How can I give it? I will lose my income. So the idle machine, if we have an idle machine, we will give it. You just give me the scrap value. Now the machine is used regularly. So if we bring it from there, what will happen? What happens if we bring it from there? I will lose my income. Now, just like we were thinking about the manager's case, like in the case of the indirect worker. So what exactly were we thinking there? Ask a man to be here from there. Salary is a committed cost. Just take contribution loss. Are you getting this? I'm just relating again. So there is a manager who's supervising the work. Now let's say if he leaves his work there and comes here to supervise or to inspect. And also let us assume that the work to be done there would be completely lost. So cost to be incurred was nil, but we took the contribution lost. You may look at the notes. If an indirect worker is busy with the regular work, then we had considered contribution loss as the relevant cost. So even in this case, if the machine is in possession, listen carefully, if the machine is what? If it's in possession, do I need to buy the machine again? No, because cost to be incurred is nil. Now, if cost to be incurred is nil, can I bring the machine from there to here? Yes, I can. If we bring it, then the earnings that are happening there, they will be gone. So contribution lost. This loss will be added here. Okay. So what happens to relevant cost with regular use? The contribution lost should be added because nothing new is being bought. But you see, there's another perspective to think about this. Like when there was material that was regularly used, how was it? When regularly used material was available, then how did you act? Would you have given whatever you had in stock that time? You won't. Why? Because if I gave it, then my regular work would stop. Okay? If regular work gets stuck, then we will have to buy some new stock immediately, right? And that is why I said that it is better not to give a regular use material. It's better for you to buy a new one. You see, the thought process in labor is different from the material. So think about how did you think in material. Try to get it into your mind. Repeat it over and over again that how did you think in material. If for regular work a material is being used, so I will not give it to my contract or special order or the customer. I will use it. Now if, let's say, towards my special order, if I will give currently used material, my main work will be stopped. Right? Main work will stop. So what did we say? That it is better to rather buy new material for that special order. Take the current purchase cost. Right? Now how was it taught for labor? So for the labor it was taught like, suppose if we have a manager or say a worker, basically a person engaged in our regular work. So if he will be leaving his regular work if he will leave his regular job. So what will happen when we will go to the offer? We will add contribution lost to this. So we learned that always join the contribution lost in labor. In case of material, buy a new one. Keeping both next to each other in mind, think about it for a moment. What did you think about the material and about labor? All these new things need to be understood by the brain. So what about the material? So consider yourself as a manufacturer. Think like a businessman and make me as one of your loyal and very special customer. In case of material, let's say if you have some regular materials, like I gave you the example of sugar and flour that day, you have these. But why? As it's used for daily work. Now suppose I came and I said, please give this sugar to me. Give me the flour. Will you give it or not? You will give it. Right? You will give it. If you will give it, your regular work might hinder. So how will it work for regular? You will have to get new. Or the other option is that you can ask me, sir, do you have time or not? Give me some time, I'll order a new one. My regular work needs this material. We saw this. This was about material. Now for labor, we thought like. So, a worker is engaged in your regular work. Now, I need you to send that worker for my work. So the first option with you is to hire a new worker for me. Abundant supply. Hire a new worker. You will hire someone new to get my work done. Second option, because a new worker is not available. So you will deploy a worker here who is already working at your site. So when you are deploying worker from the site to my place, what does that mean? So you added the contribution lost. It's income loss you joined. Now compare. How did it happen in material and in labor? So in the material, the thing that you had with you, you did not give it to me. Why didn't you? Because your regular work will be affected. So you brought me a new one. You got me new one. What does it mean you got new one? It means you will go to the market and buy a new one. I had taught you something about materials. A regular material, but it is not available in the market due to an industrial dispute. Do you remember? I had taught you one thing. Regular material, which is not available in the market due to industrial dispute. Now, how did we handle it? At that time, the regular material is used for my work. So your offer, a new offer came. So how should I manage it now? It's your regular material, you are using it. How will you manage as it is asked in the offer? You would buy new and give, but it's not available. We will have to divert it from here. In every talk about diversion, there will be contribution lost. So here, what did I teach you? Here, cost to be incurred was nil, but because diversion happened, contribution lost came. Okay? But again, look, suppose we have regular materials in stock. But what if it is readily available in the market? What will happen? What did I teach? Please focus here, kid. Are you not getting it? Don't look everywhere. You are getting distracted because you are not answering when I'm asking questions. It will only be your loss of money because I got mine. Now you need to do the recovery. I was talking about regular materials. Regular material. If the regular material I have in my stock and is needed in the offer. So what would we prefer? We won't touch old stock, we will get a new one. Now, to get new, there should be availability in the market. It should be available in the market for you to buy a new one. What is its benefit? Benefit is that our work will not stop. If new material is not available in market, then if it is not available, then I will have to divert it. But what happens with diversion? The cost to be incurred will be nil because I already had it. We will have to add the benefit lost, which I explained in the last case. Okay? So in material, listen carefully. I'm repeating it again for you. So in the material, so here what's happening is that if the stock is there and my offer needs it, and that stock is of regular use. Basically, I use it for my work. So I prefer to buy a new one from market and give. What will happen if I divert? If it's not available in market, we'll divert. And if we'll divert, contribution lost comes. Clear? Let's close this one and put it aside. Try to draw situations in your mind. The more you draw it in your mind, the more it will stay there. Let's move to labor. Now in the labor with me, let's say that I have, for example, a direct worker. Now, your direct worker who is working for you is doing regular work. Basically, in the market where your other works are taking place. So there you have assigned these direct workers to do the regular work. You just received an offer from a customer. A special customer or someone like me has come to you. Once in a blue moon, who comes? Now for this work, a need of direct worker is there. One of the option is get from market. Buying from market will incur cost. Second option, it's not there in market. So you will divert it. Now because of diverting, add contribution lost. These two cases were there in worker, right? Either available in the market or it's not. If it's available in the market, get a new one. Don't divert it. If it's not available, it will be diverted, and as it is diverted, contribution lost comes. In the material, what was taught? Let's recall it again. So regular material is there. Requested for offer. Either get new one. If not in market, divert it. By diverting, contribution lost with new only cost to be incurred. For labor, two such cases are formed. New hiring is possible. Casual workers are there. If new hiring is possible, get someone from market to work. If hiring is not possible, then divert it. The same case is happening with machines. I have the machine. The machine is with me. It is being used regularly. It is being used on my site and I am using it at different places. Okay, so there can be two scenarios at this place. Either just buy a new machine and satisfy the offer work because touching that machine will stop my site. Second option. So either divert the machine. Diverting will stop the work there. So what will we face? Contribution lost. So two cases will arise here, right? Either machine diverts or else what? New one will be bought. If a new machine, what? Tell me, if a new machine can be purchased. To be purchased. In case of regular use by new machine. And the second case can be the existing machine is to be diverted. The existing machine to be diverted. As new purchase is not possible. Okay, so as the new purchase is not possible, existing machine to be diverted as the new purchase is not possible. Okay, so in the new machine to be purchased, the purchasing cost of the new one will come here. The purchase cost, whatever it is, at start of offer, at the beginning of offer. Look, compare it to the material. Okay, now for the regular use material, what treatment did we learn? Tell me. If there's a regular use material. If it is a material used regularly. If it's a regular use material, what would you do? Where will you get material for my offer? So a new one will be bought. It will be purchased new. What was material's advantage? The new one will come, it will be included in the contract and will be consumed there. But it is machine. After buying the new one, it went to contract. Now it cannot be consumed. So afterwards, it will come back. So when it comes back, it should have some value, right? So purchase cost at beginning of offer will be outflow. For material, we would just charge purchase cost. But in case of machine, it will come back. Because it will come back and this is for regular use. You will not scrap it. Now after taking it back from there, we won't scrap it. But we will take over it. On what? On the purchase cost, which will be for that day. Minus the purchase cost at the end of offer. In short, what you would be saying is the difference in purchase cost. Difference in purchase cost. It's a bit unique, right? And let's come here. Now, what will happen if we divert the existing machine? Cost to be incurred is nil. Why? Why cost to be incurred is nil? Because we already have it. But cost to be incurred is nil. What will the relevant cost be? It will be whatever the contribution lost is. The contribution lost from regular work. He left the work there and came here. Now it can be a very large amount. So because of this reason, normally we don't choose this option. Because if the machine of yours taken from a bigger site will be given to me, then you'll have a huge loss. And then you'll ask me to cover that cost. So that cost for just a short period is not exactly very justifying. Better is to buy a new one and get the work done. What is even easier is to rent it and have the work done. So the option of renting is relevant, like I discussed it earlier. I hope the idea is getting settled. What is happening is that it is getting settled right now. This is step 1 of bits and chunks of information. Okay? But the challenge is you have to remember everything. Remember the whole story. Making you explain it by yourself is my goal here. Okay? Let's see to be purchased. If the machine is not available with us at all and is not available on rent, to be purchased. Okay, there is no space. Let us draw an arrow here. Okay, let's come here. Here could be 2 cases. I purchased the machine because there wasn't any option. It was not available on rent, so had to buy it. Imagine it is not a big machine, but just a small one, like a drilling machine. Now bigger machines are not usually available on rent, but the small machines are. Okay, so if you want to buy a new machine, then there are 2 cases. That what will happen once the offer will end here. After the offer, no such use is there for it. No use after the offer ends. The first case is no use after the offer. So there will be no use after the offer. Okay, first case is there will be no use after the offer. It won't be useful. So you bought a new one and after offer it's not useful for you anymore. What would you do? If we buy it back, yes, and sell it, right? What would be my relevant cost? The relevant cost will be the initial purchase cost, or we can say the purchase cost at the start minus. What will come here? The purchase cost at the start minus the scrap value at the end. We sold it and got scrap value. An emotional person will get it back. But we are practical. We thought, how much would we take back? Let's sell it there. Or second thing can be regular use after the offer. Regular use after the offer, right? What will be the relevant cost then? However, we will have to buy the new one, right? Because we didn't have it. So then we will not scrap it. After the purchase cost at the start, we will buy it ourselves. Subtract the purchase cost at the end. Is it clear? We will subtract it. That means the difference in the purchase cost. The relevant cost would be the difference between the purchase cost at the start and the purchase cost at the end. I hope you understood. This is all you need to know about the relevant costing, and students, this information is enough. If I will remember any situational information, I will inform you. But overall, which can be used in all of the questions, is this much. Now you need to go through this once. You need to prepare your mind in such a way that you are able to answer any questions asked related to these concepts. If you have any doubts or problems related to this, you can indeed ask. Clear? You can definitely ask anything. Yes. Please take 5 minutes and go through these notes once. All right. Starting from the relevant cost of material, all the charts. See, I remember everything like a golden rule. Debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Debit all in expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. In this way, you need to remember these charts. The logic is the same for all. Help all, but don't suffer. The logic is the same. You do one thing. Take a thorough look and then note down all the charts in your notebooks. And check how much do you remember. Do a quick revision of the concepts. Then create a rough chart. What was the relevant cost of material, relevant cost of labor? And what was in overhead and in depreciation? Check if you remember all four situations. You don't need to decorate it and make it properly. Just draw the charts roughly. Just check if you remember all the headings, all the scenarios and the subheadings we made in these charts. Whatever concepts you can recall after that, just do one thing to keep your mind active. There is a way for it. Mind can't retain it all just by looking. So do one thing, like the chart of relevant cost. Did I make it? No, I didn't make a chart. I made a shortcut for it. But you can create a chart. The chart is already made in your book. So, like the relevant cost of material shortcut, and once you have read and understood it well, put it in the box. Make it creative. Once you have read this concept, put it in box. You will know it. So similarly, the second shortcut, put it in the box after reading. Whatever you read, put it in the box. Put the shortcut for toxic in the box. This shortcut of to be purchased, put it in box. Excuse me. When we will read about the labor, we will put a box like this. Am I clear? Just like this. We will outline it. Short supply. As you read, put it in box. We will mark it once we will read it. You can use this strategy in every subject. Whatever is important, put it in a box once you are done studying the concept. In this way, you will be able to focus on important things while preparing for exams. You don't need to mug it up. You should just remember the main points. We will discuss it in detail separately, okay? Just take a look at it once. Just make sure that you have read about every scenario, every concept in the notes and nothing is skipped. So study it thoroughly. And mark it in the box. Now we will read this chart quickly. Whatever is written here, we will have to read it quickly. Check everything, verify everything that is written in the concept here. This whole thing is in notes. So study it. Okay? It's given. Think of indirect workers, relate it as not busy. So what should happen if not busy? So then it is a committed cost. If it's busy, it will have to be diverted. If there is additional overtime, so it becomes a discretionary fixed cost. The fully relevant extra cost, not being retrenched or not terminated, is same. This is same like the hidden thing. If the variable overhead has already been incurred, it is irrelevant, else it is relevant. Fixed overhead. Avoidable cost is relevant and unavoidable cost irrelevant. And if it is varying with hours, in that case, we have to take it on the actual labor, not on the relevant. We discussed the keywords to identify committed fixed costs. If it is in possession and depreciation, it's in regular use. Then assume that situation when I explained two cases here. First was, it can be purchased new from the market and it has to be diverted, but it is not mentioned here as it is not much needed for the questions in exams. Okay, clear? But I told you, if it has to be diverted, take contribution lost. If you don't want to divert and buy a new, then take difference in purchase cost. The difference in purchase cost is variation in start and end of offer. If it's in possession and has no other use, then difference in resale value. If it has to be bought and has no use after offer, we will sell it. If it will be used after the offer, then difference in purchase cost. Okay? You will have to do a task. Apart from the other tasks that I will give you. What will be that task? You have to take your notebook and take the center page, which is middle page. Or you can take the regular A4 size sheet as well. We will use it the sheet in landscape orientation. Got my point? Landscape means like this. This is landscape and this is portrait. We will use the sheet like this. So you will create a nice clear chart as a task, even if you need to look while making it. So assume it is a page and write relevant cost heading here. Okay. Give this heading. I am just writing roughly. You will have to make it clearly. On this side, you will write the key points in the definition of the relevant costing, clear? Like this. Then key points of irrelevant costs, which I got you noted in your notes. Okay. Then here you will write what are the uses of the relevant costing. In brief, all right. After that, you will start subheadings from here. One subheading of material and labor. And as you guys know, all the situations of material is already roughly sketched in the notes. You can either refer to it or you can make your own, whatever you want. You will have to write every headings in such boxes and write the relevant cost of each one, keeping it concise. Okay. In stock, to be purchased, and in that it's parts of, with lot size and without lot size, everything. The material will take up one page and then labor will be mentioned. Okay. What will you do then? This way, the entire content will fit on this page. Relevant costing here. Relevant cost. Irrelevant cost here, and then uses and material labor. Write it concisely. You don't have to write in big bold letters. Keep it small. And here will be the materials and here labor. Okay. You will have to note down everything related. Then turn around and then here overhead and depreciation. These two charts on the next page. Did you understand? The whole chapter should fit on one page. What has been taught so far? You have to write in this one page, in front and back. Understood? So what will happen if you do it like this? By doing it yourself, you will remember everything. Although I have written down the concepts, taught it, and also given the chart, but when you do it yourself, this will help you in retaining this all. This chart will help you with your revision the day before the exam, and you will not feel any stress in exam. You will see that relevant costing is revised on one page. There's no need to flip through the pages. If you will forget any concept, you can refer here. That's it. The notes are more detailed. Today, when you will study at home, do one more thing while revising. Like any story that I tell you guys here, if you think that you should write it down, you should write down as much as you remember. In Hindi or in your native language. For example, if you think there is some other logic to this that I have had taught, and you must note down that. Like when we had discussed material, we had compared it and studied that when a material is included in an offer, it gets consumed. But the machine can be revived. So it comes back, therefore. It is taken over. Either it is taken over or it is valued as a scrap. So this is the logic. See, you remember this today. You may forget it. So you have to do one more task at home. All the stories which have been explained here. So if possible, make notes of all that. With different highlighters, pens, or whatever you like. Just make it fit in one page. Or in the margins. Whatever space you see in the notebook on the related concept notes, be it the margin, side, space in between, just write it down. You have to write that story. So that when you will revise later on, you will be able to recall the concepts easily. Okay? So now let's do one question. Question number 5. It is a machine with original cost of 12,000 rupees. It has an estimated life of 10 years, okay? And depreciated at a rate of 1200 per year. So the original cost is 12,000. And if we buy it, then it becomes sunk. It is being depreciated each year. So it is just a part of sunk cost. It has been unused for some time. It means it's kept idle. It is in possession and idle. However, as expected, the production orders did not materialize. That means the expected order didn't arrive. But a special order has now been received that will require the use of the machine for 2 months. The machine will be used for this special order. What we would have done in case of no order. Sold it. Okay? If order is received, the machine will be used for 2 months. In case of order, what will happen to the machine? It will be used. And now the current net realizable value of the machine is 8,000 rupees. The current net realizable value of the machine is, what is it written? 8,000. The net realizable value of the machine is 8,000 rupees. If it is used for the job, its value is expected to fall to 7,500 rupees. How much will we receive from selling the machine now? 8,000. After the job, 7.5. So the loss is just 500. Okay, what about the old cost incurred, that is 12,000? That is sunk cost, it has no meaning. Then next is that the routine maintenance of the machine currently costs 40 rupees per month. With use, the cost of maintenance and repairs would increase to 60 per month. Alright. So because of the usage of the machine, my maintenance cost increases by 20 rupees. If it is used for 2 months, how much will it be? 40 rupees. This 40 rupees extra of maintenance is relevant cost. Alright. Then what would be the relevant cost of using the machine for the order, so that it can be charged as the minimum price of the order? What should be the answer? 500 scrap value and 40 rupees extra maintenance. A doubt may arise in this. If we sell the machine, if it's sold, assume there was no offer, so we would get 8,000 rupees. Routine maintenance, which is 40 rupees per month, what would that be? Will that apply? Think, if there was no offer and I had sold the machine right now for 8,000 rupees, then would the routine cost be applicable or not? Imagine you have a machine, but this offer never came. It's lying unused. If you sell it now, how much money will you get? 8,000. Will the routine maintenance cost be incurred for the next 2 months after the machine is sold? Yes, it will. If the machine is sold, will the maintenance personnel also be removed? Just because the machine is sold, the maintenance person won't be removed. The maintenance person will still be employed. The machine has already been purchased, but it's sold now. So was the maintenance man also kicked out? No, he wasn't. You can't mix the two. You might think that if there is no bamboo, then there will be no flute. So you consider no machine has no maintenance. The maintenance cost isn't removed even if the machine is removed. How will we know this? I am going to explain. All of this is what you have to learn. Removing machine. For example, if I remove the AC, then AMC for AC is already done. Will you call the AMC person and ask for the money back? AMC means annual maintenance contract, so routine maintenance will be done, right? If he comes and sees there's no AC, will he pay me my money back? No, the maintenance department won't go. So you have committed 40 rupees. What happened is when machine was used in the offer, so the maintenance cost went from 40 to 60. The extra 20 rupees we have, that became relevant for us. The 40 rupees, even if there was no offer, would apply. Now there is a machine. Think on what would happen if there was no offer. You would sell it. How much would you get? 8,000. Imagine you have prepared PL. Maintenance cost is charged. Accounts are prepared for 2 months. Even after selling, till 2 months, routine maintenance was still required. 40 into 2 is 80. Alright, so no machine doesn't mean no maintenance. A maintenance contract or a separate department handles it, okay? If the machine is sold, the maintenance staff won't be removed because of that. Alright. For example, I have a car. So if I sell it, should I dismiss the driver? You may say, yes. But no, it doesn't work like that. The driver's contract here is not linked to the vehicle. We will tell him to do some other work for now. We will buy a new car, right? We are not firing you. We sold the car, not the driver. How is it possible? How is it that maintenance will stop once car is sold? How will we know, sir? This is what is real world knowledge. This is not taught in books, but this is the basic implication in the real world. Then, if an offer came, what will happen? After 2 months, I will be able to sell the machine. So my income will be 7,500. But routine maintenance is increased to 60 rupees, making the total 120. Next. So now here, my net position earlier would have been 7,920. Subtract 80 from 1,000. The net amount comes to 7,920. So what should be the net profit after the offer? That should be same. So how much money can you recover from the offer? The answer will be the difference between these two, which is 500. And the difference between these is 40. So 540. Answer will be 7,920 on credit side. So we have to recover that money from offer. If someone doesn't consider PL, who directly considers the extra, now it's 7,500. So they will recover the loss. And It's 120 instead of 80. We need to recover 40 extra. If you assume that the maintenance cost goes away along with machine being sold, so I would fully recover it here at 120. I only recovered that 40 here at 80 minus 120. Extra 40 were added. Why was 40 extra added? Why not the whole 120? The reason is that maintenance will continue even if we sell the machine, it will still continue. Both are connected to each other in a way, yet they are not linked to each other. The maintenance costs will not disappear. It's not like that. Maintenance costs will continue. This was the basic learning, and there was nothing else in it. But there is one new thing we learned. If the machine was sold, doesn't mean that maintenance costs are eliminated. Understood? If the vehicle is sold, driver cannot be dismissed immediately. A new vehicle, a new machine will be bought. We will give the driver another job. We won't dismiss driver immediately. Understood? So figure out the answer and write it down. Statement showing relevant cost of using the machine. For the offer. Particulars amount. You all are aiming to become cost accountants, right? I'm telling you, if you don't have a strong grip on this subject, then your degree will be incomplete. I am saying so, as a chartered accountant is not so concerned about this subject. Chartered is concerned with audit subject, NFR, because they will create profit and loss statement, balance sheet, and disclose and conduct an audit. The main expectation from him is in two things, FR subject and audit subject. But the main expectation from cost accountants is in this subject. This subject defines you. Therefore, you should be very thorough and well versed in these concepts. Otherwise, what will people say? How did you become cost accountant? It's okay to not be good at other subjects. But you should not be lacking knowledge of your core subject. Therefore, you should pay keen attention to this, as these questions are very helpful and are also asked in your interview. In chartered accountants interview, they will ask, tell me about this tax section. And in your interview, what do they ask you? They will ask you all these types of questions. So the cost to be incurred will be additional routine maintenance cost, it is 120 minus, no, it's 60 multiplied by 2 minus 40 into 2, that is 40 rupees for 2 months. Benefits lost, difference in scrap value or resale value. The entire resale value in materials is scrap value. And in this case, there's a difference. Why? Because it comes back. And here it does not returns. Remember this. You can update all of this in your notes, okay? Otherwise, you will have to search later how to solve. Then difference in resale value. How much was the amount? 8,000 minus 7.5. 500. Should we multiply by 2 months? No. 540. Now write it yourself according to you. The machine's cost is 12,000 rupees, right? Why wasn't the original cost of 12,000 considered? It's sunk cost. Okay. Great. So further. You're being given a big question as a homework assignment. Okay. The next one and the lengthy one All concepts that you have learned so far on the previous small questions all are combined together in this question. We won't be scared of size of the question. It's very easy and flabby. What is flabby? You don't know. Have you seen a plastic polythene? You have seen, so fill it with water to the half and tighten it from top. Play with it like this. You will feel that is flabby. So there's nothing inside. It's soft. So don't think that just because it's a big question, it's intimidating. It's a good one. It's just big from outside. How? The first part in this, we had already solved this in question 3. This is similar one. Okay? That one had 4 materials while this one has 3. So you have seen one part of question 3 here. So the part of labor, the concept of labor that we explained. What happens here? From the chart you made in mind, what is included in labor? Create the chart. Who is the worker here? Direct here. Indirect are 2 cases. Because this is not idle world. You forgot? What are the 2 cases? I had told abundant supply. Other one is short supply. What happens in abundant supply? Take higher. Cost to be incurred, and in short supply, we will have to divert it. Cost to be incurred plus contribution lost. In indirect, idle, busy. If idle, then nothing. If busy, then it's contribution loss. Just keep this chart in your mind and everything will be clear. But don't forget to look for the details. It is written as direct here, but they are neither retrenching nor terminating. So it can also be indirect. Thus here we have 3 types of workers. Skilled workers. 2 types: skilled and unskilled. And foreman too. You have to understand by reading. If I tell you, it seems easy, but it won't work if you don't learn by yourself. I have explained a case related to machinery. The machinery chart explains either we have the machine or we purchase it. If it is with us, then is it idle or it is in regular use? If idle, then difference in scrap value. If it is in regular use, then you should buy it or divert it. If you purchase, difference in purchase cost. If you divert it, contribution loss. There are 2 cases in purchase. After work is finished, the will scrap it and take over once work is completed. So thus names of 2 machines are given. Both cases are different. Okay. So MT4 here is regularly used. MT7 is no longer used. You have to use your intelligence and bring it out. Not that you are just looking at the answer. Please remember that. Honesty should be your priority. Otherwise, you will suffer a loss. I explained overheads, variable overheads, and fixed overheads. Variable overhead is relevant regardless of what it is. If it has keyword fixed, it's irrelevant. You see, variable overhead is 1.20 per unit produced. So it's relevant. Multiply it with units produced. Here in fixed overhead, see the keyword. Recovered. It is not committed. It is recovered. If it's recovered, it means it's committed, so ignore it. The rate per hour is given, so it's committed. What will we do? We will make note-wise. Note number 1. How will we present it? Note number 1 will be the working for material. Note number 2 will be working for labor. Note number 3 for machines. Note number 4 for overheads. Okay, and we'll create a short statement later. The statement here is talking about preparing a relevant cost sheet. So make a statement showing relevant cost sheet. The final answer for the material, there are 3 types of materials. They will be combined and noted down here. Understood? This one question has 4 sub-questions with it. They are of material, labor, machine, and overhead too. The relevant cost of material, labor, machine, and overhead will be added. All right. Then you will get the total. Did you understand? Once done, The sum, you all have been added to a relevant Telegram group, right? If not, then take the link and go. So send the picture in the Telegram group. As soon as chart is made, take a photo and send in group. And if you need to attend my next class, then both these tasks have to be done, or I will send you back. Okay? If you wish to come here, you will only receive extra surveillance. If you want it, then you have to complete the task that you have received. Your excuses will not work. We won't listen to any of your excuses that you will give. All right. Either you are inside the class or you will not be allowed in. If you are doing face-to-face, let's follow some discipline for which you are here, right? So discipline is you have to do what you have been given. No excuses. Okay? This is today's work. And one more question, number 8 is for homework. So this is very easy. You can understand just by reading and do it. Question number 8 is also for your homework. You can do it yourself. All right. We are stopping here. We will continue this later. And you have 2 home assignments to make a chart and to solve this question, number 8. And one thing that when you will give some time to this, the first 10 minutes, whatever stories come to mind, write down any hints or tips for the stories in your notes with a pencil around the edges. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.